Good afternoon. Today, as part of an international coalition of some 60 nations, including Arab countries, our men and women in uniform continue to fight against ISIL in Iraq and in Syria. More than 2,000 coalition airstrikes have pounded these terrorists. We're disrupting their command and control and supply lines, making it harder for them to move. We're destroying their fighting positions, their tanks, their vehicles, their barracks, their training camps, and the oil and gas facilities and infrastructure that fund their operations. We're taking out their commanders, their fighters, and their leaders. In Iraq, local forces have largely held the line and in some places have pushed ISIL back. In Syria, ISIL failed in its major push to take the town of Kobani, losing countless fighters in the process, fighters who will never again threaten innocent civilians. And we've seen reports of sinking morale among ISIL fighters as they realize the futility of their cause. Now, make no mistake, this is a difficult mission, and it will remain difficult for some time. It's going to take time to dislodge these terrorists, especially from urban areas. But our coalition is on the offensive. ISIL is on the defensive, and ISIL is going to lose.
Before we get started, please check out our sponsor, Lear Capital. That's Lear Capital. Click that link below, give them a call, download a free investor kit, buy gold, buy silver. It's real money, it's real wealth, and it's real protection. The precious metals leader, Lear Capital. Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're tuning into AMTV Alternative Media Television. So we have a lot in the mix today. The President of the United States yesterday requested the authorization to use military force to fight wars. New wars, by the way. This is coming from the anti-war president in countries and places like Syria. Of course, he's also continued very aggressive airstrikes in Iraq. And I think it's kind of funny because, he ran on this anti-war platform. And he always likes to talk big about no ground troops. He says no ground troops, though it'll be strategic forces, he says. It'll be special forces. It'll be strategery on the ground. It'll be small, contained units. So that means no ground troops, even though the legislation that he's pushed to Congress actually includes his ability to use ground troops. Again, I kind of think it's why they came out with the movie with Chris Kyle, American Sniper, to propagandize the American public, to build support before he went to Congress, even though there's no need to go to Congress at this point because he bypassed Congress to fight these new wars in places like Syria. See, he's just going to Congress now to kind of placate the American public and show that, well, he doesn't really respect the Constitution. He doesn't respect law or our government at all. But, he's kind of go to them second fiddle, placate the little guy to, do something. Again, all of this building to more and more war. And it sets the stage for when Hillary Clinton, 2016, when she comes into power, she'll put the ground troops there. It's just a continuation of the Bush era, etc. Nothing ever changes. Also in the news, supposedly, according to the mainstream media, after the meeting in Minsk on Wednesday, there was an agreement of sorts between Vladimir Putin of Russia, who the mainstream media and the Pentagon have recently accused of having Asperger's syndrome, which is absolutely insane and asinine, meeting with Poroshenko of Ukraine and also Francois Hollande, sounds like a gay guy, of France, got together and decided on some kind of temporary peace deal. At least that's what's being sold.
And I think it's really cute because supposedly the peace deal is on February 15th,
right after Valentine's Day. I kind of have this image in my mind of Vladimir Putin and Poroshenko just kissing like, isn't that cute? Now, of course, we know there will be no peace. This is just a maybe short-lived, short-term kind of smoke and mirrors agreement to kind of maybe calm the situation a little bit for Russia. Maybe he can kind of, those sanctions that are putting pressure on his economy and the ruble, maybe those will be softened. That's probably the hope. But you see, the other chess piece in addition to Ukraine right now is what's happening in Greece. It's why Russia and Putin have been holding out an olive branch to the Greek people, to their finance minister, and they're offering them potential lending. They're telling the Greek people in Greece, hey, if you can't get a loan from the IMF, if you can't restructure your debt from them, get out of this massive austerity, then we'll do it over here. Russia and China will be your loan shark. We'll be your lender. And maybe even potentially we'll put a couple bases in your country right in the smack dab in the heart of Europe. You see, the problem with Greece isn't that they're any different from the United States. In fact, our balance sheet here in the U.S., once you include derivatives, at the on our books at the Federal Reserve, all these mortgage-backed securities, distressed mortgages make up 60% of what's on the Fed's books right now. You add all the unfunded liabilities, we're no different than Greece. The only difference is, and the problem Greece has, is since joining the euro, which is a very bad idea in the first place, it's crumbling in just about 20 plus years, they can't print their own currency. See, when they can't meet their obligations, in the US we just print. We just print money into infinity. It's like, hey, we're broke and we're insolvent, but because we have the power of the purse and we can print money, we can print this paper out of thin air, we'll just use it to pay our bills. It's not real, and of course it devalues the value of the dollar, it devalues our currency, even though we're on a short-term blip. Markets don't move in a straight line. The Greek people can't do that because they've got to go to the euro. Every member state, the 19 member states of the euro, the PIGS nations, for example, have to go to the euro and say, hey, can we print more money? Because we're insolvent like you are. See, that's the only difference. It's just a bunch of shenanigans. The whole thing is an illusion, the whole money system. I was reading that Russia was one of the largest buyers of gold last year. About 12% of their reserves is actual gold bullion. And it's, a testament that these countries are diversifying out of these depreciating fiat currencies into something of real worth, into something of real value, because it's protection from what's about to happen. Of course, with oil prices on the decline, that also artificial. This is the move of the petrodollar that we've been talking about for years now. Since I started this channel about 5 years ago, it's now actually happening. We're moving away from that petrodollar. Oil will not be priced in the US dollar, that single currency, for much longer. It's already being traded, and they're striking these bilateral trade agreements, Russia and China, to do business in these other capacities. It's why there's been the establishment of the Eurasian Union, a counterpoint to the IMF and the World Bank. All of this is shifting. The power is shifting to the east, and that's what Americans don't see. By putting pressure, these sanctions on Russia, Americans do think we're hurting Russia. Well, yeah, maybe in the short run, maybe it affects the ruble, maybe it affects the economy in the short run, but who we're really hurting is ourselves. We're really hurting America. It's the American people that are suffering long term, because international finance is now swiftly moving out of the hands of Western governments, out of the hands of the Federal Reserve, the United States. And that's going to affect our standard of living here. So again, as I've said many, many times before, thank your officials. Thank your government for running our finances into the ground, for running an insolvent campaign here in the United States of America. That's the truth. That's what's actually happening right now. Also, oil, I wanted to touch on it, and I spoke to this about a week or two ago. I think we're actually seeing the consolidation that I was speaking to a week or two ago. I think we've actually seen it. I think that we're seeing some normalization in the oil markets, that the fear had gotten much too overblown. In fact, some of the stocks that I mentioned several weeks ago, namely RIG, is up 20%. It was up almost 30% at the close a couple of days ago. So I still think we have these select opportunities, especially in the oil patch right now, with the right companies. So all of this is reaching ahead. Again, don't believe for a minute that the Ukraine crisis is over, that these tensions are over. No way. There is no way on God's green earth that Putin's going to give up the Crimean Peninsula, his ability to have his strategic navy, the Black Sea Fleet, in that part of the world, a principally Russian-speaking part of the country. Again, there's no way that there's going to be anything more than just a short-term, short-lived agreement. And the same thing goes for Greece. Even if a deal is struck with the Eurozone, it will be temporary before the eventual fallout, before the inevitable destruction, fall from the euro, the fall from grace. And it's not just Greece, it's multiple countries leaving the union. And of course, our politicians, these bureaucrats, are going to tell us that the solution is, they're going to put it on a silver platter, is even a greater political union. Because it's all about pushing towards a central currency, a global order. Some people call it the New World Order. You can call it anything you want, but that's where we're headed. I'm Christopher Green. Get it out everywhere, make it viral, hard hitting it in your face, and click the link below to support our sponsor.